What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of GOAT Talk with Marcus, powered by Podex, fueled by GOAT Fuel. The NFL season is pretty much right around the corner. So first of all, thank you all for watching and staying tuned for the 32 episode off-season series where we did all 32 teams in order from 1 to 32 in the original draft order. The playlist is on the YouTube channel. It's titled 2022 NFL Offseason Series, so you can find all the episodes in one spot in case you missed them. We're back for it's an extension of the series, but it's a quick little 4-episode series. We're just going to talk about a couple things here. I got Jerm, one half of the crew at Stuff About Sports, on the show with me today. What's up, man?
Chilling, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you as always.
It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, my guy. So today we're going to talk about pressure. Right. Every season of sports, no matter what the sport is, there's always a couple players, a couple coaches or whatever you got to look out for that could potentially be under pressure. So today, Jerm and I, we're going to talk about the top 5 players that we think are under the most pressure heading into this season and the top 5 coaches that are under the most pressure heading into the season. Jerm, let's start with players. Who are your 5 players that you think are under the most pressure heading into the new campaign?
So, in no particular order, when I went through pressure, I said, okay, let's define it. Like,
right.
Kyler Murray's an easy one, but he signed an extension. There's no pressure on him. He's sure. Good to go, right? Sure. Deshaun Watson, you could say that there's pressure on him because they invested a lot. So after his 11 games are up, he better produce. But again, his future is secure. There's no pressure on him either way. So I went with guys who didn't sign a contract extension. And up top of that list is Lamar Jackson. You are under the most pressure, sir. You have to. It's time. And it's odd to say that of a former MVP, but statistically, just production-wise, results-wise, he's just gotten worse since that MVP season. He's due for a contract extension. He already said that he's not going to negotiate. He's his own agent. Everybody knows that. And so, I mean, all right, man, like this is cool. Like if you play well, you'll get the biggest contract the quarterback's ever gotten. And if you don't, then you're just one of the guys. Actually, if you don't get it, you'll be the number 2 on my list, Jalen Hurts. All right, man, put up and shut up time. All right. You're the guy in Philly. You got 2 years. You got AJ Brown. You got a stacked roster. You have a good head coach. It's put together another winning season, man. It's time for you to win. Number 3 on my list is Jared Goff. Same deal. You got traded away, sir. Traded away from a team that you took to the Super Bowl, and that team won the Super Bowl. And now you have a budding franchise that has a head coach that I'm in love with, that the city loves and the players love. You have studs on the defense. You have good offensive talent. In terms of DJ Shark, and then the drafted Jamison Williams, who will play at some point. DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams as your running backs. I mean, you have a good team. The Lions, I won't be surprised if the Lions get to 500 or even better. Like they're going to be that improved in my eyes. So Jared Goff, like you're the piece. Like we need to figure out if you're the guy or not. If not, they'll be drafting your replacement after this season. Tua. You got Tyreek Hill. When you get the best receiver in the league, drafted the way you were drafted, you have pressure on you, sir. It's time now. The offense got the hot head coach candidate that everybody wanted. You got the best receiver in the league, and Tyreek Hill. Those are big dog moves. So it's time for you to show the world in Miami that's who they drafted. And finally, last but not least, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
Baker, my man, it's time, bro. All them commercials, all it adds up to this, man. Like you gotta make it happen in Carolina, and you have to prove that you're a former number 1 overall pick. And so, and now you're traded. Like, I mean, imagine that. That's crazy. I mean, this, like, Josh Rosen, is the only other person. And, like,
Yeah,
now that's the company. You're supposed to be in the company with Josh Allen and all
yeah.
those other guys and Lamar Jackson. And you're in the same company now as Josh Rosen, as former first round pick who is now traded to a different team. So, Baker, the pressure's on you now, man. They gave you the keys to Carolina. Cleveland's in shambles. It's your turn to kind of prove them wrong. So I'm going to go with those 5 as my QBs or my players, that are under the most pressure.
That's a strong 5. There are 2 players that are on your list that are on my list. In order, I do have mine in order from 5 to 1. Number 5 is Russell Wilson. When you waive your trade clause in Seattle, and what is a much easier NFC to go to a really stacked AFC, not just this AFC, but to a stacked AFC West with 2 young guys that are among the top of the league and a guy in Derek Carr who I think is underappreciated. When you go to a team that hasn't been to the playoffs since they won the Super Bowl in Super Bowl 50, like there's an expectation, right? Every time you turn on First Take, every time you turn on one of these shows, some of these talking heads, or even just podcasts like yours and mine, what is everyone saying? Oh, the Broncos could go to the Super Bowl. The Broncos could win the AFC West. That's pressure, right? Like Russell Wilson is being given, in a way, a bit of a pass from last season in his performance because he did miss a handful of games last season. The Seahawks just didn't pan out, right? And so now you're in one of those situations almost similar to the Carson Wentz thing with Philadelphia, where like the team picked more, like it's like the team had to kind of pick between the coach or you, and you kind of made the decision for him and said, I'll go bet on myself in Denver. And so you've done that. Now you kind of have to prove that you made the right decision. There's no questioning Russell Wilson's greatness. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer and all that's great. But there is a sense of pressure as far as when you go to a team that is starved for forget a championship, a postseason appearance, because they haven't had one since the last time they won a championship. There is a bit of pressure there. Number 4 on my list is a guy you mentioned, Tua. Right, you go get Tyreek Hill, you have Jalen Waddle, you have a lot of improvements for this offense in the wide receiver room. You have Mike Gesicki, who's a very talented tight end, and they're paying him basically nothing to be essentially their number 1/1B wide receiver. Now that's going to change. Obviously, they have Tyreek. You have a solid defense. This is an up and coming football team. Tua's leash is very, very short this season. Like, if Miami fails this season, unless somebody gets hurt, it's going to be because Tua didn't rise to the occasion. Not to mention, Tyreek Hill's done nothing but sing the praises of Tua Tagovailoa from the moment he arrived in South Beach. Just most accurate passer in the NFL, and all this crazy things.
The coach said he's the greatest left-hand quarterback he's ever seen.
Your teammates and your coaches, they believe in you, which is a good thing. But this is a lot of belief, and they're cashing a lot of checks that you have to cash. Like they're writing all these checks, but you, my friend, have to cash them, not them. That brings me to Jalen Hurts. Exact same situation, right? We saw AJ Brown get brought in from Philly or to Philly from Tennessee via trade. Like, this is you got Devonta Smith. You have a lot of investment on this. Everyone thinks the Eagles could potentially win the NFC East this season. Take that for what you will, because it's the NFC East. But like, a division win is a division win. That's a spot in the playoffs. You won 9 games, and this team got better. So you have to at least win 9 games and at least make it back to the playoffs this season. Or there's going to be a lot of questions about you, Jalen Hurts. You at the top said he's not on your list, but Kyler Murray is on my list, and it's not because of his future. And I'm not going to make too much of a big deal about it, but I do think, though, that Kyler Murray is going to be one of those players that are put under a microscope because of what happened with the contract situation, because of that addendum being added, right? Like, we all get it, whether he's independent study or not, whether he's talented or not. The fact remains that the Cardinals obviously felt that where there's smoke, there's fire, because they put it in the contract. So you miss a read, you throw a pick. This team continues to do the thing where they kind of, start off strong and then dissipate in the back half of the season. Everyone's going to be looking at you, Kyler, and they're going to try to bring up that addendum as the reason why. I don't think they should, because I don't think that's fair to Kyler, but that's just kind of the situation. That's the world we live in. And number 1, it's not a player, it's an entire football team. That's the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, I think, are under the most pressure heading in NFL. It's not because they haven't, and it's because I think they have the most to prove, and I think the Buffalo Bills could have the hardest fall if this season doesn't pan out how everyone thinks it is, right? Everyone thinks that the Buffalo Bills are a lock for the Super Bowl almost. Everyone thinks the Buffalo Bills are the best team in football, and rightfully so, right? When you've got Josh Allen, you got Stephon Diggs, you have the coach you have in Sean McDermott, who's consistently gotten better as he's been in Buffalo and been one of the more underrated coaches in the NFL, right? This is kind of like supposed to be the Bills' crowning moment, right? They've always been the ultimate bridesmaid, had that tough loss to Kansas City last season. Of all the contending teams in the AFC specifically, it seems like they're the only one that made the playoffs last season. They got better and should be making a stronger push for the Super Bowl this season, as long as we don't get a tough break like the wrong pick on a coin flip come overtime in a playoff game. Like the Bills, as great as I think they are, and you guys know I'm on record as saying I think they'll be the best team in football this season. I do think, though, that the Bills are under the most pressure because all eyes are on Buffalo. And I think this is the first time since Josh Allen's been there that the Bills have had this high level of expectation and all eyes have been on them, right? Usually it's been, Baker because of his drama, or Lamar because of what he was doing in Baltimore, and obviously, Kansas City and what they've had going on with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But this is really the first time that the entire NFL is fixated on Buffalo and trying to see what Buffalo is going to do this season. It's just supposed to be their year. So I do think that the entire Buffalo Bills roster, coaches, not really coaches, but players and the whole nine, I think are under the most pressure because we could hear, like, how the media does. If it doesn't work out this season, if they don't at least make it to the Super Bowl, you could hear the crucifixion. That's what the media does. It's like, what have you done for me lately kind of thing. So that's my 5. Yeah,
you're gonna hear that because the guys in the media talking about it are idiots. They're the same ones that said they're the same ones that said Josh Allen was no good when he got drafted. Oh, he stinks. The Bills wasted a pick. All of a sudden, all of them are like, oh, well, Josh Allen's so great. No. Keep that same energy. I've watched you every day. I study all of you. Don't be tweeting about Josh Allen and his greatness. Emmanuel Acho, Marcellus Wiley, all right? Shannon Sharp, you frauds. All right. I remember every bad thing ever said about the Buffalo Bills. And you're not going to sit there and claim Josh Allen all of a sudden. No, keep that same energy. The only ones that get to talk good about Josh Allen are Michael Robinson and Kyle Brandt. And that's it. Nobody else.
Kyle Brandt,
he's a great dude. Mina Kimes, I love you. You're a doll. But don't you ever talk about Go watch on YouTube Mina Kimes' reaction to Josh Allen getting drafted. I just saw her tweet, Josh Allen's an alien. He's so great. No. After you guys watch this show, go on YouTube, type Mina Kimes' Josh Allen draft reaction. Keep that same energy, Mina. The reason why the Buffalo Bills, Dwayne, do not have any pressure on them is because track record. Sure. The last 2 seasons, top 5 offense and defense, right? This is not the Los Angeles Rams. This is not the Cincinnati Bengals, where the success was, I don't want to use the word fluky, but it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
The Bills have consistently improved and been proven to be a great team all around.
Yeah.
Bad breaks happen. You can't, you're not going to blame a team for a bad break. Josh Allen, by all accounts, outplayed Patrick Mahomes. I don't think anybody's going to say anything bad about Josh Allen. Would you say Josh Allen choked that game? Nobody says the Bills choked that game. The Bills said the coach choked that game by not calling by calling the timeout and not changing out of that prevent defense when all they had to do was get in field goal range. The Bills players didn't choke at all. Now, you have guys like JT from JT and the Don that says coaching is part of the team. Baloney. That's nonsense. Everybody knows that. You can say anything you want about the coaches, but the players aren't choking. There's no pressure on the players. The players play at a high level, and they can play with anybody. The Bills roster has no weaknesses. Brandon Beane did a really good job. The other reason I say that there's no pressure is because the players that matter on that team are locked up. Josh Allen, Tremaine Edmonds, Tre'Davious White, Stephon Diggs, Von Miller. The heavy hitters, the main people on that team are locked in for at least 4 more years. So the Bills window is wide open. Even if they don't make it this year, they should. This is the year that you think I'm expecting this year to be the start of a dynasty. I'm not looking for one and done. I'm looking for the Bills to go to 4 straight Super Bowls starting this year.
Again?
And this time winning them. Yeah, they have the potential, right?
Yeah, they
outside
do.
Of, Outside of Von Miller, the youngest player is 26, right? Like that, I mean, just Stephon Diggs, or you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're primed to be in contention when your best players are locked in under contract for the next 3 or 4 years. So to me, that's why there's no pressure on them. As far as a team goes, the pressure and we'll get into this when we get to the coaches. The team under the most pressure is the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, of
I
course,
mean,
absolutely, absolutely. If we were
so
listing teams, they would be at the top of the list.
the Dallas Cowboys are at the top. Nobody has more pressure than them because they're the Dallas
But that's
Cowboys.
also that's also like a self-inflicted thing of like let's just
Of course.
be serious, right? So let's talk about some players that like neither of us mentioned. Let's just kind of gauge on a scale of
Okay.
1 to 10 how much pressure do you, and we'll start with the Cowboys. Do you think, or who on the Cowboys do you think, I'll put it this way, is under more pressure? Do you think it's Dak, Zeke, or CeeDee Lamb? Because there's no Amari Cooper now, right? Michael Gallup
Yeah.
is hurt, and we'll see him come in. I know they're shooting for week 1, but that's probably not going to happen. James
Right.
Washington's out with the foot injury, right? Offensive line is beat up. So we talked about the Eagles earlier and how they should be performing. The Cowboys are expected to take a step back. Out of those 3 guys offensively, because though, I mean, aside from Micah Parsons, those would be the 3 best players on the team, and Micah's under no pressure. This is his 2nd season. So of those 3 guys, who do you think is under the most pressure heading into this season? Dak, Zeke, or CeeDee?
Easily Zeke Elliott, the highest paid left tackle in the NFL. Yeah, they gave him. You've been on my show. I have many sayings, but at the top of the list, what I say every season, you don't pay skill players. I don't care who they are. They gave Amari Cooper and Zeke this money before they gave it to Dak, and this is why they're in this situation while they're scrambling. And now Zeke is not producing. He's fat and out of shape. He looks awful. I don't know if anybody's seen Zeke lately in training camp. Him and Leonard Fournette must have been chilling in the offseason together. But Zeke's under the most pressure, man. When you're paid the way you're paid, when you make a big deal about your contract and you go on and carry on and act out and go crazy, you put that pressure on yourself. You were supposed to be a leader on this team. This is what your return on investment. This is my Andrew Luck is a bust argument. The Cowboys are not, when you get drafted at a certain position with the hype and the money and the status and everything that goes with it, your return on investment has to be bigger.
Sure.
And when you don't live up to that, by definition, you're a bust. Zeke Elliott has been a bust for the Dallas Cowboys. Has he had some good games? Yeah. Has he had a good season? Yeah. They didn't draft. Dwayne, did they draft him to have a one good season? No, they drafted him to help them lead to the Super Bowl. Dwayne, has the Cowboys gotten any closer to the Super Bowl since drafting Zeke Elliott? No. He's been a bust for them. And so Dak Prescott has played well, really well. He tore his ACL or tore his leg or whatever. He had that injury, but he came back, had a really good season last year.
He had the best season statistically a Dallas Cowboys quarterback has ever had last season.
And so I'm not going to blame Dak for the Cowboys season. I'm not going to blame Michael Gallup because he wasn't supposed to be a star receiver. He's become their best receiver. Even when Amari Cooper was there. CeeDee Lamb just got drafted, but by all accounts, he's as advertised. And it's hard to put, the game is not rested on the wide receiver. He's totally relying on the quarterback. Yeah. CD and Dak are on the same page. It's fine. CD's one of the best receivers in the league. A receiver can't lead a team to the Super Bowl. It's never happened that out of the top 10 Hall of Fame wide receivers, only like 2 of them have Super Bowls. So the wide receiver doesn't really get to have, it doesn't matter, right? It's like ranking nose tackles. You know what I mean? Like whatever. So yeah, man, it's Zeke. You were supposed to be the pass catching running back. You're supposed to lead this team, and it's not happening for the Dallas Cowboys at all. And I think in terms of, Tony Pollard to me should be the number 1 back. He's proven time and time again he's better than Zeke Elliott. I 100% agree, or I 100% believe that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I won't really spend too much time repeating what you repeated. What I would say though is, and you guys can go check out the episode I did on the Cowboys in the series. I did say that I do think it would be in the Cowboys' best interest to alter the way they do their running game, right? Like this is a thunder and lightning kind of situation with Zeke and Tony Pollard. Zeke is not the guy anymore that's going to kill you in the open field, but Tony Pollard is. You can use Tony Pollard in between the 20s and then use Zeke in the red zone, and that can be a recipe for success for you if it's done correctly. Leaning on Zeke all the way, though, has clearly not been the answer. And if you're going to continue to lean on Zeke, then Zeke needs to improve. And if that is the game plan, is to lean on Zeke this season, and he doesn't perform, then you have no one to blame but Ezekiel Elliott for why the Cowboys ultimately don't be successful. Let's talk about a quarterback wide receiver duo that's obviously very close to my heart that is now split up. Obviously, Devonta Adams has left Aaron Rodgers to go join his best friend and former college teammate at Fresno State, Derek Carr, in Las Vegas, Who's under more pressure, Devonta Adams with his new QB and his new team, or Aaron Rodgers without Devonta Adams still in Green Bay?
It's easily Devonta Adams because you chose to leave your quarterback. We've talked about this before. Aaron Rodgers winning another Super Bowl isn't going to change his legacy for me. It's he is who he is. He is who he's going to be. He has nothing left to prove. He has the stats. He has a Super Bowl ring. Like I said, to me, he's already underachieved for his career, for his skills.
Yeah.
But to me, there's winning another Super Bowl isn't going to do anything for me. So to me, Aaron Rodgers doesn't, and I believe he feels this way too, because based on the way he acts and his attitude and how he carries himself, he don't give a damn about winning another Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I mean, because he knows it's not going to matter. It really doesn't matter. Devonta Adams, on the other hand, had a good thing going, and he chose to leave it to go to Vegas, to Derek Carr, reunite with that, do that, and figure that thing out. So for me, he has more pressure on him to prove that he is worth, the contract, he's worth the trade, he's worth all the hoopla, and that he can go out there with any quarterback and still be Devonta Adams, that he did not need Aaron Rodgers. Similar to the Bill Belichick, Tom Brady thing. Like, they had to split up and to see, hey, was it Bill or was it Tom? I think this is kind of the similar thing. Devonta wants to show the world that it wasn't just Aaron Rodgers, that I am the best receiver in the league. And I'm going to prove it by, going with Derek Carr. So
I agree. I mean, look, there's no denying that Devonta Adams is the best receiver in football. And there's no denying just how great Aaron Rodgers is, right? But Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers without Devonta Adams. Like whether the media or whether fans outside of Green Bay want to admit it or not, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers without Devonta Adams. Is Devonta Adams still Devonta Adams without Aaron Rodgers? It's like what you said about CD and Dak, right? No wide receiver has ever led a team to any moniker of success because their quarterback has to be good, right? And it's not saying that Devontae's not talented. It's not taking anything away from him. But at the end of the day, can Devonta Adams still produce at the high level that he was produced with Aaron Rodgers? I know that's your college best friend, but if we're being honest, right? If we're just being completely honest, Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are better weapons and better companions to have to share targets with than Alan Lazard and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Robert Tonyan. Like that's a fact. So will we see Devonta Adams get 100 targets this season? It's likely. I'd be shocked if he doesn't. Will we see him get close to 170, which is where he was at with Aaron Rodgers? Probably not. Right. So is he going to be able to produce at that high level in Vegas? I don't know. Now, if it results in a championship, no one's going to care. Sure. But individually speaking, Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers without Devonta Adams. We don't know who Devonta Adams is without Aaron Rodgers, and that's what's going to be interesting to see this season. I do agree with you. There is more pressure on Devonta than there is on Aaron Rodgers for that reason. Last person before we switch to coaches. He was just been given the keys to the kingdom on his team that drafted him last season, and that is Trey Lance. We heard Chris Canty say a couple days ago on Get Up that he thinks that the 49ers under Trey Lance is going to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much pressure is on Trey Lance this season?
You remember what I said about 10 minutes ago, that these guys who get on the TV are idiots? Chris Candy's an idiot. He's one of them. No, they're not gonna represent the NFC in the title in the Super Bowl. What are you kidding? Or what do you? I mean, over who? Over the Rams? You know what I mean? Okay, let's break this down. Let's just stay in the division. Are they better than the Rams? No. Right now, are they better than the Cardinals at full strength? Probably not.
It's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up, right? Yeah, but right there, probably not. And then, the Seahawks don't count anymore. But so I mean, okay, let's go through so now let's do the NFC South. Are they better than the Bucks? No. Would you take them over the Saints?
No, and I think the Saints could potentially be in the Super Bowl this season. I don't.
And listen, man, we'll see with the Panthers with Baker under there. I mean, I wouldn't sleep on them. I wouldn't sleep on them at all. And then what's the other NFC South? The Falcons. So yeah,
don't worry about it.
You don't have to worry about that. NFC East. I don't think I would take them over the Eagles or the Cowboys. No. Okay. And then the NFC North is the Packers, right? And then okay, let's have a talk about the Vikings. And then
they'll be in the same bracket with the Vikings, fighting for a wild card spot.
Right, fighting for a wild card spot. And then you have the Lions who are up and coming, so they don't count. And then who's the other?
It's the Bears.
The Bears, yeah. So okay. So
Yeah.
I mean, damn, like you're at least so you're a wild card team, right? You're not better than so I don't
Sure.
where is that coming from? And that was with Jimmy Garoppolo, where they had a 37 and like 14 record with. You're
Mhm.
talking about a guy who is notably reportedly struggling in training camp, getting picked off by his own guys and other teams during joint practices. But here's the thing, he'll do that one magical throw, the same
Yeah.
thing he's been doing in college, and they'll
Which is
play it
what
all
happened
over
against
ESPN.
us in the preseason. He had that
And the
one great throw, and everyone just kind of like,
And
wow.
that's the only thing they're talking about, but not talking about all the other times he struggled. But it's that one thing that they're latching onto, and now they're putting out these BS reports about Jimmy Garoppolo because they have to make themselves feel better for moving on from him. So yeah, I would be shocked. The 49ers, and like I said, I'm willing to be wrong here, but I think the 49ers are going to be like the third best team in their own division. Like I don't
Oh
see
yeah,
it
that's
all.
a steal.
And let's wait. Let's wait until cut day, and let's
Sure.
see if Jimmy Garoppolo ends up in Seattle, and then let's really talk now. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
Yeah.
Because I think it's looking more and more likely that that's what's going to happen. If I'm willing to bet money that matters, I'm willing to bet that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get cut because obviously, why would you trade for him? You know that they're not going to keep him
Yeah.
on the roster. So
Yeah.
that's why there's no trade talks about him because it doesn't make sense for the 49ers to keep him. That they're not. So cool. He'll get his little buyout or his cut, whatever he gets for getting cut, and then you can sign him for less money. And then he'll do a 1-year deal with you, and then he'll earn a big contract from whoever. And so, yeah, I look out for Seattle. So if that happens, I don't even know if you might be the last team in the division. I don't know. Debo Samuel, again, don't pay skill players. Watch what happens. Remember, I said it on Goat Talk with Marcus. Debo Samuel, the fall off is happening. All that those days of Debo Samuel being great are over. So yeah, I don't Trey Lance. If you were that good, they would have played you last year, boss. You know what I'm saying? Like what happened? What happened in the course of the offseason?
Sure.
They were talking about replacing Jimmy Garoppolo halfway through last season.
Yeah.
So, all right. I mean, so if you were thinking that, what changed? Like, why not just play him last year? You know what I mean? What happened in the offseason? So that's there's no hot seat for him because again, same reason why I didn't add Kyler Murray to my list. Same reason I
Yeah.
didn't add some of these other guys. Your future's secured. The 49ers are rolling with you, boss. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Is there pressure on you to perform? Sure. I wouldn't call it a hot seat.
Yeah.
I would just say, like Kyler Murray, there's pressure, but I wouldn't say it's a hot seat because even if you have a bad season, we're just developing Trey. You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
growing pains.
Yeah.
You'll get another year or two, and then so to me, that's not the hot seat means hey, you got this year.
Yeah.
And you're done, boss. And so Trey Lance is going to get at least 2 years to prove himself.
I am going to be interested to see how the 49ers react because the 49ers fans, that is, react because I was on a show with a 49ers fan and he has mostly 49ers followers. And I was talking about this situation. The one thing everyone said was, yeah, well, we want that sixth banner and Jimmy G didn't give it to us. Well, I wonder how patient 49ers fans are going to be with Trey Lance because whether you like Jimmy G or you don't, fact remains he got you to a Super Bowl in the last 3 years. And it's a drop pick by your defense away from going back to the Super Bowl this past season. I don't care if you like him. I don't care if you hate him. I don't think if you care if he's a winner, a leader, whatever words you want to use to describe him. The fact of the matter is the 49ers win 3 times as many games as they do with Jimmy G as a starter as when they don't. That's a fact. That win loss is a record, is a stat that you can't deny. You can talk to me about completion percentage being bolstered by yards per attempt. You can talk to me about touchdown, interception ratio, all this other stuff. You cannot deny the fact that Jimmy Garoppolo, whether you like him or not, he's a winner and he wins you football games and he gets you in a position to play for championships because that's what the 49ers have been doing 2 of the last 3 seasons is being in a position where they could potentially win a championship. And here's the thing, the one season they didn't, which was 2 years ago, everybody on the roster was hurt and that was the COVID year. And coming into that season, before everybody got hurt, guess who were one of the teams favored to go back to the Super Bowl and win it all? The San Francisco 49ers. Who's the quarterback? Jimmy Garoppolo. Like that stuff matters. So I agree with you. I don't think I don't think there's too much pressure, but I am interested to see from the 49ers fans how they're going to react if and when, because this is technically his rookie season, if and when Trey Lance starts to stumble, because unless your name is Patrick Mahomes, if you're a young quarterback, you're gonna stumble. So
All you 49ers fans, just remember, keep that same energy at the end of the year when you guys are out of it and you're like, oh man, we should have kept Jimmy G. Nah. We see the tweets, we see the posts, we see everything that's going on. Y'all no, keep that same energy. When Trey Lance falls and Jimmy G's bringing the Seahawks to the playoffs and winning games, don't say nothing. Just be like, damn, like, we had it good, and keep it moving. There was another player that we didn't mention that almost made my list, but I think it's a foregone conclusion that he's done no matter what, and that's Daniel Jones from the New York Giants.
Sure. Yeah.
I like Danny Dimes. I have a bunch of friends just from being from the Jersey tri-state area. I have a bunch of people that are Giants fans that hate Daniel Jones. There's things to like about him. Like, he's had the Alex Smith treatment. He's had a bunch of different coaches. He's had a bunch of different coordinators. He's had zero consistency. Yeah, but you got to give him another couple years, man. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but he's going to be on the hot seat, and I don't think it's his fault. I can easily see him being one of those guys who's going to get replaced by Tyrod Taylor, not sign an extension, become a free agent, go the Nathan Peterman route and go sit behind, or the Marcus Mariota route. Go sit behind another veteran quarterback and learn, and then maybe he'll get a second chance like Mitch Trubisky just got. The second acts usually turn out to be the best acts for some of these guys. So we'll see. I feel bad for Daniel Jones to a point. Obviously, I don't think he's great. I don't think he's like some hidden gem, but I think he could be a good quarterback. I just think he's gotten a raw deal from the Giants, but he's definitely on the hot seat now with all the the moves that the Giants have made in this offseason. Like, this is his year to kind of show it. But I do think that they're going to replace him regardless. I think they've seen enough. It's just there was no reason to draft a quarterback. They had other needs, and the coaching and the GM, with a brand new coach and a brand new GM, they're always going to go try to get their guy anyway. And so, we'll see.
So let's go from players to coaches. Mm-hmm. Who are the 5 coaches that you think are on the hot seat this season?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and get number 1 out the way because everybody knows who it is, and that's Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers. I mean, dog, now it's time, buddy. Like, I have a 3-year rule on a lot of, like, making judgments. It's time, buddy. Like, let's go. You got a Baker Mayfield. You've gone through quarterbacks. You're supposed to be the defensive guy. I don't think the defense has gotten any better. Like, you have good players. You got a healthy Christian McCaffrey back. So, DJ Moore's one of the best receivers in the league. You have a good roster. So now's the time to show that you are what they drafted you to be. If not, it's time to move on. I think number 2, second easiest one, is Mike McCarthy from the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
It's hard to say that he's on the hot seat because Jerry Jones has a boner for this guy. Like, I don't know what it is about him that Jerry Jones trusts and loves. He had his chance to get rid of him and he didn't. So I kind of didn't want to put him on the list because I really think that they'll just ride with him. They, saw how long they sat with Jason Garrett. So, sure. But I think the stakes, as Jerry Jones gets older, I think the leash gets shorter for these head coaches. Number 3 is Frank Reich. All right, boys. All right, you got the Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator with the Eagles. Y'all went out. You made Jim Irsay go out and get your guy in Carson Wentz. It didn't work. Now they got you Matt Ryan. It is time. This team has been a quarterback away forever, and so you have to do something. It's time to make some steps towards the Super Bowl. If not, then it might be time to move on from him. Number 4, Cliff Kingsbury. Boss, how many collapses do you have to have in the postseason? I mean, the pressure is on you. You try to teach Kyler Murray a lesson. Kyler Murray, I hope you're learning that lesson. I heard that they added the film study back into his clause now, and they let him call plays in the preseason so he can learn how hard it is. So while he was calling defensive plays, offensive scored 14 points on him when he was calling defensive plays. When Cliff Kingsbury was calling defensive plays, the offenses only scored 3 points. So I think lesson and the message has been received by Kyler Murray. Last but not least, Pete Carroll. I think he's on the hot seat, not really because anything particular that he's done, but I think now that he's been there 12 years, Russell Wilson's gone, you don't really have anything going on, and I think it might be time just to get fresh, go in a different direction.
Yeah.
The last couple seasons haven't been great. If he has another bad season, I think they might just pull the trigger and say, hey, man, thanks for the Super Bowl. Thanks for the 193 and 112 record. thanks for 12 seasons of just being awesome. I don't, maybe the greatest coach in Seattle Seahawks history. Shout out to Mike Holmgren, but perhaps I don't know. I would probably there'd probably an argument for Pete Carroll. However, now that Russell Wilson's gone, you lose a franchise quarterback. You're going down to Geno Smith and Drew Lock. The last couple of seasons haven't gone. Legion of Boom's gone, and it just might be time for Seattle to hit a reset button, kind of. And I think like I said, I don't think it's anything he's doing. It's not like Frank Reich or Mike McCarthy or Matt Rule. I just think just longevity. I think it might be if they have another poor season. I think they might just be like, hey man, thanks for everything, but we're gonna go in a different direction.
So I've got 3 guys on my list that are on your list, and same way I'll go from 5 to 1. I know my 5 and 4 might be interesting to you. My number 5 is Nick Sirianni for all the same reasons as Jalen Hurts, except if Jalen Hurts plays well and the Eagles still don't perform, then all eyes go to Nick Sirianni. So, like, in a way, even though they're all the same on the same team and on the same side of things, they want the same goal, which is hopefully another Super Bowl in Philly. Maybe not this season, but just in general. In a way, Nick Sirianni, I just for job security purposes, in the back of his mind is maybe kind of hoping Jalen Hurts falls on his face a bit this season, just so that the attention doesn't shift to him. But he is, I think, his seat's not super hot, but the temperature might be warming. Number 4, he's the only first-year head coach on my list. It's Nathaniel Hackett. Again, for all the same reasons that Russell Wilson's on the list, right? Okay. And I'll say this, and I think, relatively speaking, I think Nathaniel Hackett might be under more pressure than Russell Wilson is in Denver, because anything everyone's been saying about Nathaniel Hackett and why this is such a great reason and why this is such a great thing for him to be in Denver is, oh, well, look at what he did to Aaron Rodgers and how he kind of resurrected Aaron Rodgers' career. First of all, for like the 50th time, and if you guys have watched my show, you know where I'm going with this, and if you don't want to listen to it, I mean, I don't really care. You're going to have to listen to it anyway because you don't know when the soliloquy is going to stop. But Aaron Rodgers, before Nathaniel Hackett got there, was not playing bad football, okay? 2017, broke his collarbone, missed like about all the season. I'd never forget that game. It was on a Sunday against Minnesota. He got sacked. He missed the game. I was in my history class that Monday, and I saw the notification that he was out for the rest of the season with a broken collarbone. I literally shed tears in class, right? And then 2 weeks later, we played Minnesota again. It was just terrible. That was 2017. 2018, he had the knee injury. He played, I think, 12 or 13 games that season, but he did have the knee injury in 2018. So, and that was also Mike McCarthy's last season before Mike McCarthy got the boot. Love that, right? 2019 was his first year under a new head coach. Any other quarterback in the NFL who's playing their first season under a new head coach generally gets a pass for playing bad. Aaron Rodgers in his first year, as he's gone on and said on record as saying it's true, his down year, which was like 24 touchdowns and 5 picks or something like that, would be a career year for most quarterbacks. The team still won 13 games, still ended up in the NFC Championship game. So Aaron Rodgers wasn't on a downward spiral. He had 2 injury-plagued seasons and then a down year that was still historically great because it is still among one of the best seasons of all time as it pertains to touchdown interception ratio. Whatever. Nathaniel Hackett, I think, is getting a little bit too much credit for the resurrection of Aaron Rodgers, and people think that's automatically going to translate to Russell Wilson. And if Russell Wilson's playing bad and the team isn't winning, there's only one person that you can look at. That's Nathaniel Hackett. So I think Nathaniel Hackett's on the list. Then you have Cliff Kingsbury, who should have never got the job in the first place. I'm on record as saying that. He's terrible.
You
terrible.
said that, yeah.
I don't know. I haven't been doing this long, Jerm, and you've been on this earth much longer than me. I've only been on this earth for 19 years. In my 19 years of living, and about the last, let's say, 10 years that I've really watched football, I don't think there's ever been a scenario where a coach from college that's never had a winning season or never won anything of any substance got hired by an NFL football team. I don't think that's ever happened before. And if it hasn't, and if it has, clearly the Cardinals didn't learn from that mistake because that's a terrible precedent to be set in general. Cliff Kingsbury is terrible at his job. He's terrible at his job. And I know that Pete Carroll might be on the decline because he's getting old. Like, here's the thing. The Seahawks have been a playoff team while Cliff Kingsbury's been there. The Rams have won a Super Bowl and been to 2. The 49ers have won a Super Bowl, all while Cliff Kingsbury's in there, and the Cardinals have just been having collapse after collapse after collapse. I'm on record as saying that I don't think Kyler Murray deserves too much blame for all these collapses because it's Cliff Kingsbury's fault in the beginning. But here's the thing. You have another collapse, Cliff. You need to be out the door. You were hired because Kyler Murray was your guy. Jerm, correct me if I'm wrong. Kyler Murray was the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Right? Means that Kyler Murray is in Arizona not because you're there, Cliff, but because the team was so bad the year before Kyler Murray came out that he was going to end up there anyway. Like, if the Bills for some reason had the first overall pick in that draft, guess what Kyler Murray was going to be playing? He'd be playing in Buffalo. If Washington had the first pick in that draft, he'd be playing in Washington. Like, people are acting like Cliff Kingsbury's the reason why Kyler Murray's in Arizona. No, it's because Arizona Cardinals were so god awful the season before, and they needed a quarterback, and Kyler Murray was on the board and happened to win the Heisman Trophy. So that's number 3. Number 2 is Matt Rule. For all the reasons you mentioned, Matt Rule, I don't know if he wants to be in the NFL or not. I know there's speculation about that, but y'all then went out there and you got Baker and you're starting Baker, which, I mean, you can say that's a job-saving thing kind of thing, and maybe it is. NFC is wide open. So like you said earlier, there is a small chance that maybe the Panthers can sneak into the playoffs. If they don't and Baker plays well, Matt Rule is out the door. And then it's number 1. It's Mike McCarthy. You are right? Jerry Jones has a loyalty issue. He is too loyal to people who don't produce for him, and it's absurd. But I do actually think that Jerry Jones has recognized that this could be the end for Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy bought himself an extra year because Dak Prescott broke his ankle. And Mike McCarthy better be thanking his lucky stars that Dak Prescott broke his ankle 2 years ago when he first got there. Because if he didn't, he probably wouldn't have made it past his first season. Mike McCarthy's the only head coach in the NFL whose only job is to manage the clock and discipline the team. Since Mike McCarthy,
he can't even do that.
It's been there. The Dallas Cowboys have led the National Football League in penalties and in penalty yards. They did it again last season. Their season unwinded on the worst clock management ever at the end of a playoff game. They couldn't get a snap off in 13 seconds. And just a couple nights later, we saw Kansas City drive down the field in 14 seconds and score a touchdown to force the game to overtime. It's embarrassing. He has 2 jobs. He can't do them well. He doesn't have to worry about the offensive play calling. He doesn't have to worry about the defensive play calling. He has to discipline the team and manage the clock. He can't do either one of those things. And to double down on that, the Dallas Cowboys in their very first preseason game, 17 penalties against the Denver Broncos. And what does Big Mike say in the post-game presser? Oh, it's just the preseason. It doesn't matter. Yeah, you say that if you don't just lead the last 2 NFL seasons in penalties. But that's what you've done. This is a team that Jerry Jones firmly believes can contend for a Super Bowl, and Mike McCarthy is the reason why they cannot. Mike McCarthy mentioned, or Jerry Jones in a presser at the top of training camp mentioned a couple weeks ago that there are options, right? Jerm, look, we all know you don't mention options unless you're thinking about exploring those options. And one of the most lucrative potential options out there that could potentially be hovering around the coaching cycle next season is one Sean Payton. And you can bet your lucky stars that if Mike McCarthy doesn't meet Jerry Jones's expectations, Sean Payton will be the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next season.
Yeah.
And you can book it. This is Mike McCarthy's last season, and the only way Mike McCarthy returns as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year, unless someone else gets hurt and he can buy himself an extra season, is if the Dallas Cowboys make it to and win the Super Bowl. And we all know that ain't going to happen. So Mike McCarthy needs to get all his smiles and all his giggles and all his goodbyes out now, because this is it for Big Mike. We're not going to see him on an NFL sideline after this season because he's terrible at his job. And he is on the hottest seat in the NFL. Players, coaches, owners, whatever. He is under the most pressure in the National Football League because he better perform or he's done. And even if he does perform, he still might be done. Yeah. That's my.
I agree. So don't sugarcoat it. Tell them how you really feel.
So let's talk about a couple other. I know I put Nathaniel Hackett on my list as one of the first-year coaches. Do you think there could potentially be any first-year coach this season that is under, maybe not on a hot seat, but under some kind of pressure? Obviously, you have maybe not Lovie Smith because he's in Houston, but you have Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay. You've got Kevin McConnell in Minnesota, Josh McDaniels out there in Las Vegas, Mike McDaniel down there in Miami, and there's Matt Eberflus in Chicago, and Dennis Allen in New Orleans. Do you think that there could potentially be any, not hot seat pressure, but some kind of pressure like all eyes are on you situation for any of the other first-year head coaches, or Nathaniel Hackett if you want to toss him?
So I guess the easy one would be Mike McDaniel. Lovie Smith probably has a little. So you said Lovie Smith is a coach that had an awful coaching record and just got this Texans job, but there was a lot of circumstances, around that hire. So I don't know if that was just, I don't know. It's
a token hire in my opinion.
It is a token hire. Yeah. There was a lot of things. They were well on their way to hire Josh McCown as that coach, and then the media guys got to it, and there goes that. I would say Josh McDaniel. you had a chance in the NFL, it didn't work so well. This is your second go around. You backed out of the Indianapolis Colts job a few years ago. Like the day they hired you, you all of a sudden quit. Like, went back to New England. There were some weird things about that. So, and then they went out and just got Devonta Adams. I feel like if they didn't get Devonta Adams, I probably wouldn't mention that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
now that you got Devonta Adams, yeah, the pressure's on you. I like I said, I wouldn't call it a hot seat,
Sure.
but as the first year coaches, yeah, I would think that Josh, and then you leave Bill Belichick, you leave the Patriots, which a lot of people thought that was going to be your gig.
Yeah.
Just like a lot of people think Eric Bieniemy doesn't care about these getting a job because he knows that he's going to take over Kansas City and have Patrick Mahomes once Andy Reid decides to call it quits.
Yeah.
So a lot of, me included, I thought Josh McDaniels wasn't, for years people were like, how come he's not going out for coaching jobs? Why is he not
Yeah.
interviewing? I was like, well, why would he? You got Tom Brady. He's got
Yeah.
the Patriots. Like, why would he go anywhere? Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. But now he no longer has Tom Brady. Maybe he thought now's the time. And so when you make that decision, to me, the pressure is kind of built on you. Mike McDaniel, the Dolphins were never going to do anything anyway, even before
Sure.
Tyreek Hill. And even
Sure.
now that they have Tyreek Hill, nobody's saying that they're going to challenge the Bills to win the division. So to
No.
me, there's not much pressure there. Who's the other coach you named?
We've got Dennis Allen in New Orleans, Kevin
He
McConnell.
was already there. Kevin
Yeah.
O'Connell probably has some pressure on him, and I think it's not really about him; it's the team.
Yeah.
Everybody always has the Vikings pegged. They have everything together, man. Say what you want about Kirk Cousins. Statistically, he's always a top 10 to 12 quarterback. I feel like if you have a top half quarterback, you always have a chance to win. They have a really good defense that just hasn't played well. I mean, the defense, I shouldn't say they have a good defense. Defense has been awful, but they have good defensive players.
Yeah. They have two good
So,
players. Yeah.
and a lot of the people are saying that Mike Zimmer's coaching was awful. A lot of people didn't like it.
Sure.
Justin Jefferson praised Kevin O'Connell because he was like, "Man, me and Kirk has been working with coach, and I can't believe what we're capable of now." And blah 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 blah. The stuff he's supposed to say. But the fact that he went out of his way and said it probably means something. And so I'm pretty excited to see what the Vikings are going to do. They have a good team around them. Probably by that logic, maybe Kevin has the most pressure to perform
Sure.
because the Vikings probably have the best roster of the first year coaches
Sure.
outside of maybe Las Vegas. So, we'll see. But I think those two stand out. And it has more to do with their roster than it does with them specifically. Eberflus, the Bears are a train wreck. Like I said, the Dolphins, the owners, like cheating, like actively cheating and doing a bunch of nonsense. Everybody else they're just rebuilding or they're just stopgap coaches. So I don't think the teams aren't expected to do anything. Nathaniel Hackett, I think that team is the team. Like I said, the team had the Broncos had the third best defense last year, so they're going to be okay. You have the third best defense last year on a 7-10 team, and then you add not Kirk Cousins. You add Russell Wilson. I don't care who the coach is. You're going to be all right. Like you'll be fine. The coach, good players cover up coaches pretty well. Just ask Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott has tried to lose us a bunch of games last year, and if it wasn't for Josh Allen in his magic unicorn style of play, then we probably would have, lost a couple of those games.
One more guy before we go, right? And his predecessor, Anthony Lynn, coached 2 seasons in Los Angeles, I believe. Maybe it was 3. He had one with Phillip Rivers and then one with Justin Herbert, and he got the boot. In comes Brandon Staley. Justin Herbert plays another phenomenal season, but one questionable timeout in the season finale of last season keeps the Chargers out of the playoffs for the second consecutive season. Is Brandon Staley on any kind of hot seat, if at all, this season? Because you look, obviously, we're expecting Justin Herbert to continue to improve, maybe even be in the MVP conversation this season alongside Josh Allen, right? This defense improves immensely, bringing in J.C. Jackson, bringing in Khalil Mack. They just inked Derwin James to a long-term deal. They also locked up Mike Williams for the next couple seasons. So this offense and this defense is pretty set. They drafted some O-linemen to kind of help with the versatility on the O-line just in case things go bad and people get hurt. So and people think that maybe the Chargers could push for the Super Bowl, at least make the playoffs for sure, and maybe even beat the Chiefs out for the division for the first time since Pat Mahomes has been there. Do you think there's any pressure on Brandon Staley this season as a head coach, or do you think because good players often mask bad coaching. He'll be fine and he'll return as the coach at the end of this season going into next.
Yeah, he'll return as a coach. I did have Justin Herbert on my list for the quarterbacks, but I think the same thing. His position in that franchise is solidified. Again, much like the rest of it, like the Bills. I think that team they were going to rebuild. They just got started. I don't think you move on from the coach for that. It would have to be like an epic collapse, but they've become contenders under him. They've put up monster offensive numbers because of him. So no, I don't. I think people, maybe you get spoiled by like the Joe Burrow, Zach Thomases of the world, but I think that the Chargers are pretty happy with their coach and their quarterback. I would be shocked considering they were coming from Anthony Lynn and all that other stuff. I would be shocked if they were already trying to get rid of Brandon Staley. That would be ridiculous.
That's fair. So, thank you guys for watching and listening, obviously, and thank you, Jerm. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Please let everybody know where they can find you and stuff about sports.
You can find us everywhere you get your podcast, on YouTube, at the Give Us a Shot Network YouTube page, at Stuff About Sports on Instagram, and the Give Us a Shot Network page on Facebook. Everything we're doing kind of a revamp, so you're going to start seeing new looks for the network and all the shows on the network. Everything will be going through the Give Us a Shot network Facebook page. So just hashtag Stuff About Sports in your Googles, and you'll find all our links, and follow them. YouTube channel. I don't care if you watch, subscribe, like a couple of them. I don't care. Just help us out. It'd be great.
It's always a pleasure to have Jerm on the show. It's always a pleasure to go on the show with Jerm and Bert. But Bert's a busy man traveling all over the world for work and
Yes,
stuff.
he
It's
is.
hard to get a hold of Bert. Once you guys follow Stuff About Sports, of course, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at GTP Marcus on everything. YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. NFL season's almost here. Ironically enough, this was not planned, but ironically enough, the episode we do before the season, before the NFL season, to kind of do one last preview of the season and talk about Thursday Night Football, will be the 200th episode of the show, and we'll be going live. So, big thank you for 200 episodes. I think we're also closing in on 10,000 views overall watched on the channel, which is also a big number for us as well. And then, of course, we're trying to get to 150 subscribers by the end of the year. So, if you're not already subscribed on YouTube, which about 65% of you that watch episodes on YouTube are not, please smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, share it with your friends, your family, your dogs, your cats, your fishes, all that good stuff, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. You don't have to watch, but subscribe. Just subscribe.
Exactly.
That's really the subscription's what's mattered to me. I just want to get to the goal of 150. We can worry about you guys watching later. Right now, let's just focus on getting you here to subscribe. It's always a pleasure to have Jerm on the show, like I said. And again, 200 episodes is coming right around the corner. And then, of course, we right in full swing for the NFL season as well. So for Jerm, one half of the crew at Stuff About Sports, this is Marcus of Go Talk with Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, you guys enjoy the rest of your lives.
Peace.